Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial series for learning Python for beginners. So in this video we're going to start our final project, and this is going to be to recreate the original Snake game. So let me just show you what this looks like. So we're going to do something that looks a little bit like this. So we have the snake moving around, and then it's gonna eat the little apple, the little food, and then each time it grows by 1 unit until it hits the wall, and then it's gonna lose. We're also gonna be adding like all these different colors for the food, for the snake. So it's gonna be some fun, you know. Alright, so let's get started. So for this project, we're going to be using a module or a library called Pygame. So this is used for making games in Python. This is more popular library for drawing and for taking keyboard input. So for that, we have to go to the folder where you have downloaded Python, and then go on to scripts. Alright, copy the link, copy the path and put cd and then paste in the path. Alright, and then here we can clear everything and we can say pip install pygame. So this is just gonna go online, check for our Pygame modules and download them for us. Alright, so Pygame has been downloaded successfully. So now we can import it into our project. So we can say, well, let's save it first. And then actually let's create a new folder. We'll call it snake game. Go inside and call it main.py. Alright, so we're going to be using classes for this project, of course, and functions and everything we've learned so far. We're just going to combine it and make some awesome projects. So let's import Pygame, and then let's go and try and run it to see if everything is working accordingly. So let's run it. Type in main.py, and there you go. It worked. It even gave us the version of the Pygame. So we have version 1.9.6 and hello from the Pygame community. Alright, so let's get started. So let's create a screen width variable, and we'll hard code this to 1280. A screen height variable, we'll make it equal to 720. So this is going to be our display dimensions. Let's create a boolean variable, call it game over, make it equal to false. Alright, so this is just going to be checking if the game is over or if the game is still running. Now let's initialize our Pygame library. So we'll say pygame.init. This is going to initialize all our main components that we need for this project. So if we do this, we can then say pygame.display.setCaption. This is going to give a title to our screen, and we call it snake game. Now let's create a display variable. It's going to be equal to pygame.display.set_mode, and then in brackets we pass in the screen width and the screen height. So what this does is this is going to be initializing our display. So this is going to run the function set mode, and it's going to take the screen width and the screen height as parameters to initialize the display. So now if we run it, we get a Pygame display which opened and then exit, because the program terminated. But we had a display, and if you notice, the title was Snake Game. Now to change the color of the display, we can say display.fill. So it's gonna fill the display, brackets, and then here 255, 255, and 255. Because this is working in RGB, red, green, and blue. So this is gonna be the red, the green, and the blue, and it goes from 0 to 255. So 255 means the red is at max, the green is maxed out, and the blue is maxed out, which means every color is maxed out. Therefore, we should technically get a white. Now let's create an FPS variable, and let's say we want 4 frames per second, because we want the game to look like the old version of Snake, and we want it to run really slowly. So for that, we have to create a variable. Let's call it timer underscore clock equals pygame dot time dot clock, and so there we go, we created a clock. So let's create our main loop, which is gonna run our game. So while not game over, so while game over is equal to false, this is the same thing as saying while game over is equal to false or not equal to true. It all means the same thing. So while the game over is not equal to true, so while game over is still false, meaning the game is still running, we want to loop through all the events. For events in pygame.event.get. So this will return all the events, the keyboard events that Pygame is detecting. And let's say if event.get, so we want to get the event, and if it's equal to pygame.quit, we want to set the game over variable to be equal to true. So this will exit our, and then we also want to break using the break keyword. What this does is it exits the for loop. So this exits the for loop, it sets the game over to true, therefore this is no longer the case, and we exit the while loop and the program terminates. Now now after we finished with the for loop, we want to do pygame display.flip and then pygame.display.update. So this will update the display for us. This will update the graphics on the display, and we also want to set the FPS to 4. So for timer clock dot tick, and then we pass in the FPS. So that takes care of the FPS for us. So just remember this for now, and let's run it. Main.py. So it says attribute event has no attribute get. So this is wrong. So we want to check for the type. If event.type, so if the type of event is pygame.quit, then we want to set this variable to be true so that we can exit the program. Now let's run it. As you can see, the background is now white because we filled it with 255, 255, 255, which means that all the colors are maxed out. And if we click here on the X button, this generates a pygame.quit event, which changes the game over variable to be true, and we therefore exit the while loop. So now we basically have like an empty screen. In the next video, we're gonna actually start drawing the snake and making it move. So stay tuned and have a good one.